Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokce Capital. Now before I begin, be sure to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Mildred Velez is about to lose the spacious unit she has rented out for 52 years. Why? We'll find out at the end of this video. But first, if you plan to buy or build a house with an underground floor, make sure you know whether it has a basement or cellar. Here's the difference. Number 1. What is a basement? A basement is defined as a floor of a building that is partially below ground level. Number 2. What is a cellar? A cellar is a room or floor that is almost entirely underground and is typically used for storage. Number 3. How are basements and cellars different? The terms basement and cellar are often used interchangeably, but in many circumstances there are some major differences. For one, basements and cellars often differ in their legal standings. Per most building codes, basements can be used as habitable spaces while cellars cannot. The reason for this is that basements are halfway above grade level while cellars are halfway below. Thus, basements have more light and air. Finally, because the majority of the basement is above grade, it can have large windows that allow a person to exit, making it a safer space to inhabit. Number 4. How can you tell if you have a basement or a cellar? Well, as we just mentioned, a basement will have at least 1/2 of its height above the curb level. It also usually needs to have a minimum ceiling height of around 7 feet. And it must have a minimum number of windows that are large enough to be used as a means of egress. If the unit doesn't have all of these things, it is typically a cellar. But you can also check your certificate of occupancy, often available on your city or county's Department of Buildings website, or give the county building and or planning department a call to see if they can assist. And number 5, can you rent out your basement or cellar? Well, as we mentioned earlier, only basements are usually considered habitable by building codes. Thus, you would only be able to rent out a basement, assuming that the basement has been adequately finished and waterproofed. But this question of habitability brings me back to the story of Mildred Velez. In 1965, Mildred bought a single-family home in the Bronx, which came with a spacious basement unit. The apartment had several windows and 3 ways in and out, along with access to the backyard. It was perfect for Mildred's mother-in-law, who lived there for many years until her passing. Today, Mildred rents the unit to a retired police officer. Mildred and her tenant lived peacefully together until one day in 2018, a city inspector showed up at Mildred's door and told her she was breaking the law. Unbeknownst to her, Mildred's basement unit had been incorrectly classified as a cellar 50 years ago, which means she cannot legally rent it out, even though it meets all of the specifications of a basement. And Mildred is not the only homeowner in trouble. New York City recently came down on illegal cellar units for a good reason. In 2021, 11 people, including a toddler, drowned because their below-grade apartments did not have enough exits to allow them to escape. Think about it this way. If there's a fire or flood on your first-floor apartment, you can jump out a window or try the back door if the front is inaccessible. But if the single entryway to your cellar unit is obstructed, you could be trapped. So there's a good reason why New York City wants all cellar apartments gone. Sadly, however, as in the case of Mildred, some perfectly habitable basements have been caught up in the city's net. Technically, it should be easy for Mildred to fix the original classification error, but filing the necessary paperwork would cost her at least $6,500, an amount that she, at 92, cannot afford. Thankfully, a local housing organization has offered to help Mildred resolve her situation. But Mildred's story is a good example of why you should take care when buying or building a home with an underground unit. Make sure it is designed and classified properly. Otherwise, you could have trouble later. But what do you think? Do you have any stories about basements or cellars? Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down properties at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.